We've waited to witness Titan X in action for a good few weeks now, and even though the journey to really understand this kaiju has been nothing short of exhilarating, nothing beats Godzilla and the great god of the sea going at one another. Amidst all the human drama in Monarch, A Legacy of Monsters, the last episode finally gave some screen time to the Titan in question, who is more popularly known as Vilu, or Kokai, by the natives who worship her. So, I guess now is as good a time as any to discuss everything we know about the anatomy of Titan X. Without wasting another moment, let's get right to it. Who is Titan X? Honestly, Titan X is one of the most mystical kaijus introduced by the Monsterverse. I say this because it's literally depicted to be an ancient god who hides beneath the ocean, is surrounded by glowing creatures, and is almost considered to be a myth found in folk tales. However, irrespective of what we were initially led to believe, Kokai was never a monster destroying everything in her path, but instead an ancient, fascinating creature who's deeply connected to the marine ecosystem, keeping the balance of nature intact. Even before Lee, Keiko, and Bill found out about this creature and codenamed it Titan X, the legends of Vilu existed for centuries. Apparently, most of these tales and legends related to this ancient kaiju come from the Chilean and Argentinian Mapuche folklore in South America that describe her as a very powerful ocean god or deity who can easily raise the sea to dangerous levels in order to punish humanity and reshape the land. From what we know, Titan X had once flooded huge portions of the land, which forced people to climb up to the mountains in order to survive the rising level of the sea. Some tales even hold this kaiju as responsible for creating the Chileo archipelago. More recently, in the 1950s, right before the original Monarch crew's first encounter with the creature, they found out that the locals of Santa Soledad referred to Titan X as El Gran Dios del Mar, or the Great God of the Sea. On a more interesting note, you should know that all these mythical tales about Titan X in the Monsterverse are not just stories, but very real historical memories of people who've encountered the Titan firsthand. Just like ancient civilization once worshipped Godzilla as a god of destruction and balance, the people of Santa Soledad believed Titan X ruled over the oceans, thus making it a great god of the sea. What does Titan X look like? Before I start, I just want to put out there that the design of Titan X definitely lives up to the name, especially because she looks like one of the most alien-esque titans we've seen in the Monsterverse. When Monarch Season 2 went into production, the crew decided to create an aquatic titan as the main focus, after being inspired by the characteristics of many marine fauna, like eels, bluebottles, and cephalopods. Its huge body looks like a giant fish covered in grayish-purple scales. Not to mention, the kaiju's dark pale blue skin is covered in glowing bioluminescent spines and lobes. The scariest part of this kaiju is the jaw, that's double-lined with dozens of razor-sharp teeth. We also see 4 pairs of extremely crustacean-like limbs with yellow stripes attached to its torso that are powerful enough to help the Titan crawl across land. But the most striking feature has to be its 8 enormous tentacles, each lined with serrated white hooks and barbed edges that look like they could tear through steel or even capsize entire ships. Vilu almost has a reptilian snout with a sharp and glowing split horn at the tip, like some deep-sea unicorn. There are spiky brow ridges protecting her very unique glowing blue eyes that contain 2 reptilian irises and 2 fused reptilian pupils resembling the infinity symbol. And when the Titan roars, it doesn't sound like a typical monster, as the kaiju's calls are deep, echoing bellows with strange chattering sounds that feel hauntingly familiar to the fans of the Monsterverse. Some of its vocalizations even sound like those of Mothra or King Ghidorah, thus implying that the Titan community may just be more complex than we originally thought. In fact, some of Vilu's roars also resemble those of the dinosaurs, particularly baryonyx in Jurassic World Camp Cretaceous. Titan X has a very protective nature. To be very honest, Vilu is a mother at heart who's just fiercely protective of the sea scarabs and her eggs. She's primarily driven by her migratory instincts, and that's why she swims alongside a specified path within the Pacific Ocean every 15 years. Her relationship with sea scarabs are symbiotic in nature, and that's why she attacks anyone trying to harm them and relentlessly chases them until she's reunited with that scarab. After being unleashed from Axis Mundi in 2017, Titan X immediately fled Skull Island and ignored both Kong and Outpost 18 chasing after her. However, it became aggressive to the latter only when it heard the call of a scarab that had stowed away on board, and was only pacified again when Shaw returned the scarab to the sea. Titan X was also driven to sink a Monarch patrol boat while picking up scarabs from American Samoa. Now, because Vilu was accidentally removed from Axis Mundi, it set off its migratory route years ahead of schedule. After it returned to Santa Soledad, we see it responding passively to Kate Rhonda, but then she was immediately enraged after Apex Cybernetics failed to control it using electrifying missiles and wiped out the companies in camp. This event also disturbed the Titan's migration, thus knocking it off its course. It's through Kate we ultimately discover how she possesses a psychic connection with Titan X, and could use this ability to characterize the Titan as panicked and lost based on the sound of its cries. Later, when Titan X laid and brooded an egg in Australia, she seemed to ignore Sean driving around and setting up a Suzuki device nearby. And though she was prepared to attack Kate after she got close, Vilu stood down when she sensed no harm. However, she's really just peaceful by nature, relatively docile and curious unless provoked into aggression, which causes her to stray from her migratory path and lay an egg in a different location. Titan X is also very protective of her egg, as seen when she was even willing to fight Godzilla when he approached her nest. But then she also immediately abandoned the battle with the Alpha Titan to chase her egg when she witnessed how Jason Trisop's Apex team was carrying it away using a helicopter. Honestly, she's just a mother trying to do her thing with humans getting in the way, and it seems Vilu is just being heavily misunderstood. Vilu has a very symbiotic relationship with sea scarabs. So, right from the very beginning of the show, it was evident that Vilu shares a strong symbiotic relationship with the crustacean-like small sea creatures called sea scarabs, who apparently ride on the Titan's body as she swims through the ocean. I doubt these sea scarabs are offerings of the Titan, but the origin of their connection is still a mystery. However, the two share an ability to communicate and actively move to protect the other when in distress. Their relationship is seen to be mutually beneficial, as the creatures fiercely take care of one another. Titan X basically provides them protection and transport in exchange for their total subservience. The first example in the Monarch timeline dates back to 1957, when we see the Titan return to Santa Soledad as part of its migratory route amidst the scattering of dormant scarabs on the island, and then start attacking Keiko and Lee after the latter kicked one of the sea scarabs in self-defense. Vilu only calmed down after she was reunited with all the sea scarabs in the water, thus prompting her to peacefully swim back out into the open ocean waters. Any sign of the sea scarab on land usually means that Titan X is not very far away. That's how Keiko figures out which Titan would be unleashed if Kate opened the portal to Axis Mundi again to save Lee in 2017. However, Vilu was inadvertently awakened after Kate Rhonda sent the Monarch reconnaissance pod to Axis Mundi to rescue Shaw. That's how both the Vilu and the sea scarab swarm traveled through the vile vortex and arrived at Skull Island, thus killing Natalia Verdugo in the process. Before long, she escaped into the ocean to evade the enraged Kong, with the scarabs following her. From here on, Vilu was swimming straight towards the Strait of Malacca, and used one of her tentacles to destroy the drone Monarch attempted to use in order to distract her. However, she completely turned around and changed her direction upon hearing the distressed sonic cry of a sea scarab that had stowed away in Outpost 18. Titan X would have destroyed the Monarch ship if Shaw had not carried the sea scarab in a Zodiac to draw her away from the ship before he tossed it into the water. The Titan eventually calmed down and swam away only after she was reunited with the sea scarab, though Monarch did end up losing her trail as she dove into deeper waters. Shortly after this, when Vilu swam past Ofu Beach in American Samoa, it awakened more scarabs and sank a Monarch vessel before departing. Eventually, when Apex Cybernetics set up camp on Santa Soledad, ahead of Vilu's arrival, with a plan to control it with a neural implant, the great god of the sea arrived off the coast as scarabs took to the oceans to reunite with their master. However, when the Titan was attacked by an experimental Apex Cybernetics drone, which embedded itself in one of the Titan's tentacles as the ancient Kaiju attempted to guard itself against the projectile, we immediately see the scarabs rush to protect her. You see, the neural implant sent electric currents across Titan X's body as it tried to upload a synaptic link, causing her pain. However, Titan X's nervous system proved to be too large for the synaptic link to upload. We then see the scarabs across Titan X's body to the tentacle with a neural implant. We then see the scarabs cross Titan X's body to the tentacle with a neural implant and chew off a portion of the afflicted tentacle in order to remove the device. Lastly, the scarabs also helped Titan X build its nest once it arrived in Australia so that it could lay its egg, thus implying the true extent of their symbiotic relationship. Why is Titan X worshipped as a deity? So, during the ancient times, the presence of Vilu in the South American waters surrounding the Chilean island of Santa Soledad led the native inhabitants to worship her as a god who holds domain over all marine life and blesses the waters surrounding the island by enriching them. Vilu can basically produce considerable amounts of nitrogen and phosphorus from her body, thus enriching the waters she swims in. As a result, as she migrates, the Titan brings in the bounty of the sea once every 15 years. She also migrates around the Pacific Ocean to reunite with various sea scarab swarms during her migration route, and apparently sailors from the mainland have also caught glimpses of Vilu during the 18th century. Not just that, Titan X's presence in Japanese waters also inspired myths of a demonic yokai that lures women into dark caves. How does the amphibious nature of Titan X work in her favor? As an amphibious kaiju like Godzilla, Vilu can easily breathe underwater or on land indefinitely. Even if she's primarily aquatic, we saw how this Titan could also travel on land in Axis Mundi and Skull Island. She could also use her tentacles and limbs to traverse both terrains with little effort, though definitely she has greater mobility advantage in the water. Having said that, Titan X is capable of moving at over 40 knots in the water, as observed by Monarch scientists. In fact, an Outpost 18 monitor recorded a top speed of 49 after it passed beneath the ship, which is truly crazy given this creature's size. Is Titan X larger in size than Godzilla? So, based on what we see in Monarch Legacy of Monsters Season 2, the estimated size of Titan X roughly suggests that her main body is about 300 to 400 feet tall, although some scenes show it as slightly smaller during its initial appearance. When fully extended, the creature is exceptionally long, possibly surpassing 1,000 feet due to its tentacles. So yes, Vilu is significantly larger than Godzilla in terms of overall length and reaches a comparable or greater height. While Godzilla is known for his massive vertical presence, Titan X's sprawling aquatic anatomy gives her a different kind of scale. For comparison, Godzilla's total length from snout to tail tip is approximately 975 feet. Not just that, Titan X is estimated to weigh between 100,000 and 200,000 tons, potentially making her heavier than Godzilla, who weighed approximately 99,634 tons in Godzilla vs. Kong. That's probably why Vilu is often described as a living cataclysm. How can one determine Vilu's mood or temperament? So in order to determine the mood of Titan X, you basically have to observe her bioluminescent coloration and behavioral patterns. Vilu's lobes and spines can emit a colorful glow that reflects her temperament, similar to that of Mothra or Tiamat. When her lobes and spines glow red, we see Titan X turn angry, threatened, or preparing to engage in combat. However, when spines and lobes glow white or blue, she's considered to be in a docile or passive state. We mostly witness the red glow only when she becomes aggressive due to her protective nature by displaying extreme violence while protecting the sea scarabs or defending herself against human or kaiju attacks. The tentacles of Titan X are a weapon in itself. Well, Vilu is known as the tentacled beast for a reason. Apart from using them to walk on the land, Titan X can use her tentacles as limbs to move swiftly underwater, swat drones out of the sky, and skillfully evade Godzilla's atomic breath. While she was swimming straight towards the Strait of Malacca, Vilu used one of her tentacles to destroy the drone Monarch attempted to use in order to distract her. Titan X's tentacles can also effortlessly swat humans, destroy buildings, pull a boat underwater, and crush ships. She can also, in fact, go toe-to-toe with Godzilla by using her jaws and tentacles to grapple with the larger Alpha Titan. The barbed and serrated white hooks on her tentacles are also capable of inflicting deep gashes, to a point that we saw her use them to hold her own against Godzilla and draw blood from his thick hide during their brief combat, leaving a long laceration mark on the side of his neck. Titan X is pretty damn durable. Well, given that she's a kaiju, Vilu can survive gravitational inversion, which is a planet's worth of gravity reversed in a split second. She can also withstand intense electrocution created by a neural implant due to her massive size and neural density, and even goes back to moving normally after losing one of her tentacles. Lastly, during her fight with Godzilla during Episode 8 of Monarch Legacy of Monsters Season 2, we witnessed just how capable Titan X was in withstanding blows from the Alpha Titan's tail, teeth, and claws. In fact, I think she was just trying to defend herself against Godzilla, meaning that maybe she was not using the full extent of her strength and abilities during the combat, as she was more focused on protecting her egg. How does Titan X reproduce? So, in Monarch Legacy of Monsters Season 2, Titan X reproduces by laying an egg, similar to a massive nesting creature. Turns out she had migrated because she was pregnant and had to reach her birthing destination in order to lay an egg. She basically seeks the help from the scarabs, who construct the nest Vilu lays its egg in. Her egg seems to be at least the size of a bowling ball or maybe bigger. Apex intended to dominate her by using an upgraded code, as they wanted to use the biological material from the hatchling to power their Titan hybrid technology, similar to how Ghidorah's neural pathways were used for Mechagodzilla. Apex also believed that controlling a Titan from its birth is easier to achieve than trying to control an adult. At the end, it was Kentaro who helped Apex in stealing Vilu's egg during the fight between her and Godzilla. Apart from that, it's also said that Vilu is capable of reproducing through unfertilized eggs, similar to plants, invertebrates, and some lower vertebrates from the reptile and fish families. Who would have thought, am I right? Titan X also has subsonic hearing and regeneration skills. So, it was Keiko and Lee who realized how Titan X reacted to sound and could emit these low subsonic frequencies. It's also indicated that Titan X may be able to mimic other Titans, as its roar contains a distinct familiar call from the other creatures in the monster universe. Apart from that, Vilu also has the ability to regenerate parts of its body, as seen when the severed portion of its tentacle grew back after Apex Cybernetics failed to try and control it in Santa Soledad. It was actually Lee Shaw who arrived on the beaches of northeastern Australia and spotted the Titan kind of flailing around. Upon closer inspection, he realized that Titan X was regenerating its severed limb, while also creating an anthill-like structure with the sand. Titan X might be a protector kaiju. So, in the Monsterverse, Titans are not just random giant creatures, as they tend to fall into different roles depending on how they affect the world around them. Some kaijus like King Ghidorah, Scylla, and Tiamat are considered destroyer Titans, meaning they bring in chaos and pose a direct threat to both nature and humanity, while others, like Godzilla, King Kong, and Behemoth, act more like protectors by helping to maintain balance and even restoring ecosystems. Now, in Episode 1 of Monarch Season 2, Titan X is introduced in a pretty brutal way, as we see her killing Director Verdugo with a single accidental swipe of her tentacle. That alone paints her as dangerous, and with Kong immediately going after her once she escapes Axis Mundi, only reinforces the idea that Vilu is a threat. But the situation's not that simple. For the people of Santa Soledad, Titan X, or the Great God of the Sea, is actually something closer to a blessing. Because, like I previously mentioned, her presence enriches their water, leading to more fish and more resources. So while she may seem like a destructive force on the surface, to them, Titan X is a vital part of their survival. While all Titans leave radiation that helps new life grow, Titan X does not actually have a history of being destructive, and doesn't lash out unless she's provoked. Across each episode, her aggression only shows up when either her egg or the scarabs are threatened. That behavior points more toward Titan X being a protector-type Titan, rather than a destroyer. And if that's true, this clashes pretty heavily with how the show and even the marketing for Monarch Legacy of Monsters Season 2 have been framing her all this time. How can Kate Rhonda's connection to Titan X be explained? So, if you've been following the show, you already know that Kate Rhonda has a bioacoustic, empathetic, and potentially telepathic connection to Titan X in Monarch Legacy of Monsters, which basically allows her to be sensitive and feel the Titan's emotions, vibrations, and distress. As an unwitting catalyst who freed the Titan from Axis Mundi during Shaw's rescue mission on Skull Island, Kate shares a resonant bond with the creature, thus acting as a bridge between humans and Titans. Her sensory link with Vilu puts her in a trance-like state that allows her to perceive Titan X's vibrations and emotional state, such as its protectiveness over offspring, which are often manifested within Kate through physical symptoms like headaches. She not only empathizes with the Titan, but also experiences a mutual, almost communicative connection with Titan X, rather than just fear, particularly when the Titan is attacked by Apex Cybernetics. In fact, Vilu even seems to be calm in Kate's presence, as the Titan's bioluminescent lobes glowed white after seeing her. So far, it seems like Kate is the key to understanding this aquatic titan, as opposed to all other humans hellbent on destroying her. In the recent episode, she even goes against her brother and does everything possible in order to save Vilu and her egg. I guess only time will tell if she'll be able to save the kaiju and her offspring from Apex's exploitation and prevent Isabel from using Axis Mundi as her personal time machine. Is Vilu more powerful than Godzilla? Honestly, it seems like in a fight, both of them are equally powerful and strong. You have to understand that Titan X only fought Godzilla because she thought he was coming for her egg. In fact, after a point, it didn't even seem like a battle, as Vilu only seemed to protect herself against Godzilla, who was trying to maintain the balance of nature and send her back to Axis Mundi. Titan X was also too distracted to bring her full power against Godzilla, as the evil humans were stealing her egg, prompting her to run off towards her offspring. Later, when she was chasing after the Apex chopper that stole her egg, Godzilla goes after her while they're both roaring at one another. However, instead of killing Vilu, the Alpha Titan merely screams at her, and as soon as she went into Skull Island, Godzilla left as well. That's when Keiko theorized that Godzilla was not a killer, as he existed to maintain order between humans and monsters. He supposedly preferred to do so without murdering other kaijus, and since Titan X came out of Skull Island, in Godzilla's opinion, that's where she should return to. Plus, given how Vilu obeyed Godzilla's order, his job was done. So my guess is that we will never see a full-blown fight between both these mega kaijus, because if that happens, it would result in absolute devastation for humans, as well as both the Titans. Well, that brings us to the very end of this video. Do you think Godzilla will interfere with Apex trying to use Titan X as their ticket to colonizing Axis Mundi? More importantly, will Kate be able to save Vilu's egg before the aquatic titan wreaks havoc on the humans? Let us know your thoughts and theories in the comments below. And don't forget to stay marvelous.